And then the editor left. So I mean, I have had editors that have died. I did 10 revisions for an editor and she died. It's not my problem. It's not my fault. I mean, I worked really hard and I called one day and, she was still there. And then I got a rejection letter like a year later and it said, due to the untimely death of Sally Kovalchik. And I went, what? I just did 10 revisions for her and I was really upset. She was like, we worked really well together, So I've had them leave, I've had them die, I've had them go on and write their own books. I mean, once you get in with an editor, it's supposed to be really great. You can keep publishing with them, right? But they leave. So your cheerleader goes, you have to start all over again. And that's what happened with Rooster Can't Cock-a-Doodle-Doo. I had a really good relationship with this one editor, and she wanted to take like sequels to Rooster Can't Cock-a-Doodle-Doo, but she left. And the new editor there doesn't like my stuff, so I have to start all over again. And then the editor for Food Fright left and went to a different publishing company. The editor for, let's see, and they just keep leaving. They just jump around. I mean, I thought pharmaceutical stuff was tough. When I was in the pharmaceutical business, people kept leaving and coming and going. Publishing is really tough. This editor went off, he retired.
If the editor leaves, can they take your stuff with them, or do you have to resubmit it to?
Well, that becomes it depends on where it is in the process. If it's a book that it's already if it's a book that's in manuscript form, they can't solicit you because in their contract with their publishing company it says you cannot take any of the authors with you, and unless they signed a different kind of contract. But usually they can't just take authors with them. If it's an already established author that they actually brought with them to another publishing company, it may be in their contract that they can continue to take it somewhere else. But you have to actually come to them and say, can I continue to send you my stuff? And they're like, yeah. But I mean, a lot of my people go, a humor editor can go to a children's book house, a children's book editor can go to an editor for a newspaper, and that's not something that I'm targeting. So it depends on where they're going.
How do you protect your work?
Well, you can do two things. Like I said, I forget if it's the copyright law of 1977, I think. Once you put pen to paper, it's copyrighted. It's your material. Nobody can steal it. If you want to do a poor man's copyright, there is a way to do that, but it's like a little bit of a laborious task, and you really have to get. I write 40 books, like I told you at one time, so I have to have like codes on the bottom. If you're going to do a poor man's copyright, what you do is you send your manuscript to yourself and you never, ever, ever open it. But if you're going to write more than one book, you better, on your envelope that you're writing to yourself, you better put the title, because you can't open this until it goes to I guess, to trial. So you would have to write like Food Fright. And then if you ever need it, you can never open it, but you can see that that's Food Fright. So, I mean, you can do a poor man's copyright, but seriously, I think the copyright law from, 1977, it specifically states that that's your own work and nobody can take it from you. And then, of course, depending on your publishing contract, but you have to absolutely make sure that the copyright is in your name when you publish. This one says, copyright 1993 by Karen-Rostoker Gruber. You have to have your work published, copyrighted in your name. If it's the publisher's name, then it is not copyrighted in your name. The publisher now owns it, and that's not good. So make sure that that's in your contract. Some of these contracts are 10 pages long. Some of them are 1 page long. I think I wrote about people to know. I have books to buy. Important phone numbers I wrote. Important phone numbers. There's a lawyer, Mary Flower. She's a publishing lawyer, and I have her phone number down. If you get to a point where somebody does want your work, they will call you. They actually call you on the phone. It's really freaky. I thought they would just send me a notice in the mail, but they call you on the phone to see if what they're working on is still available. Now they email also, but sometimes they call you. And that's when you don't answer the phone and you talk to a lawyer first, and then you call back to the publishing company and you go, can you please speak to Mary Flower? And she'll discuss royalties for you. You don't want to if you're new, you don't want to discuss royalties on the phone. You don't want to discuss advances. Let her do it. She's like, I don't know, $300. She works on your contract and she negotiates what you should be getting for you. She's not an agent, but she works as an agent in that capacity, and she doesn't take anything extra. She's great. But her number's in here, if you should get to that point. Okay? Also, I have a proofreader's phone number in here. You should really get a proofreader, like I said, and her phone number's in here too. Small publishing companies versus large publishing companies. Small publishing companies, they answer their own phones. The editors actually pick up the phone and they say, you know, hi, this is Carrie Underwood, whatever. I don't know, whatever their names are. A large publishing company, they have assistants, so they're not going to be picking up their own phone. Large publishing companies don't take chances on first-time authors as much as a small publishing company would. Also, you get more personalized attention with a small publishing company than you do with a large publishing company. Like a small publishing company wants to work with you one-on-one. Large publishing companies have different divisions. This is the art director, they work with the artist. The editor works with you, and then you might have an assistant editor helping you out. So they're not always gonna work with you as well. There's not a lot of competition with a small publishing company as there is with a large publishing company. I mean, think about it. Everybody wants to send their stuff to Simon & Schuster. Everybody wants to send their stuff to Harcourt, to HarperCollins. But everybody in America is doing that, so your chances are pretty slim. But if you send to a small publishing company, like this one, for example, like Barefoot Books is pretty small, and they're based in Massachusetts, I think. And you have a larger, you have an easier time getting into Barefoot Books than you would getting into, like a Harcourt, because maybe they only get 20 manuscripts in a year, or whatever. So you're better off trying to get that, so you can write it on your cover letter, to get that byline. Try to go for the small publishing houses first. That's what I would do. I mean, everybody, everybody thinks their book is good. Everybody thinks it's the best out there, and I totally get that. I really do. I have 40 in my drawer right now that I think are great. But if you want to get into publishing, go for the small houses first, or start writing articles to get that byline in there. Then they can see that you're really serious, and then maybe you can get an agent, or maybe you can get into a bigger house once you've already published a book. Also, the disadvantages of a small publishing house is they do smaller print runs. Here's another, this is like getting into it later. Like Rooster Can't Cock-a-Doodle-Doo, its first print run was 8,500. But my first book only had a print run of 500. So you're not going to be making as much money, but at first. But if your book catches on, because you're promoting it, everybody looks to authors now to promote their own stuff. You have to go to book signings, you have to go to bookstores, you have to get out there and go to school visits and talk about your book. You have to do all of this stuff to market your own stuff now because, see, they're marketing Madonna. They don't have time for you. So, they put out big money for Madonna. Like, I think she got 6 figures. She wanted to write a children's book because she claimed that there wasn't anything out there for her children to read. Isn't that a shame? Madonna's children can't read anything because there's nothing good out there. I feel so bad for her. I really do. But she's going to get the 6-figure advance because based on her name, an uninformed mother is going to go to the bookstore and go, oh, Madonna wrote a children's book? Oh. Instead of like buying a J.K. Rowling book, which is what they should be buying, because Madonna is not a children's book writer. What is she now? She's been so many things. She's a singer, she's a songwriter, she's an actress, she's whatever. And she just said, I want to be a children's book writer. Oh, that's what I want to do. And she called up and she said, I want to write a children's book to her agent. Her agent got her a 6-figure advance. And now, who are they going to market to now? Now the publishing company's going to put all their money into Madonna because they have to make up for the 6-figure advance that they gave her. If they gave her $500,000, they'd better sell $500,000 worth of books because otherwise they're going to have big problems. A lot of them are very young. They're getting taken right out of school right now. It's a very entry-level position to be an assistant editor. They're reading the slush pile. That's where there's a lot of different levels. Another thing, in a small publishing house, they don't have to have acquisitions meetings. If the editor likes your book, it will get bought. In a Simon & Schuster, they have an acquisitions meeting, and the assistant editor takes it to the editor and says, I really like this book. So she has to write a letter on why she likes that book. Then the assistant editor has to take it to the editor. Then the editor has to write a letter to the vice president of the company saying why they like the book. So it has a lot more steps than a small publishing house does. Also, the small publishing house's distribution could be smaller. So, Simon & Schuster is going to get their books into Barnes & Noble, and they're going to get their book. Your book is going to be at Borders. A small publishing house might have a little bit of a problem getting into that. But still, you've really got to get that byline in there. But that's the advantage of the, big person versus a small person. Also, a large publishing house will give you a bigger royalty and a bigger, a larger advance. So, but then again, if you can't get in there, what good is being able to get a larger advance if you can't even get published with them? So, you might want to start small and get the smaller advance and the smaller royalty versus the larger advance and larger royalty if you can't even break into that field, because it's more difficult. There is a place it's called the Rutgers One-on-One. It's a conference that everyone should go to if you're writing for children, if you're writing young adult novels. It's called the Rutgers One-on-One, and it's held in October. You're going to have to go find it on the website somewhere. And it's not based on first come, first serve. It's based on writing ability. And if you're really, really good, you get matched up with an editor. If you can get matched up with an agent, and it's one-on-one. You have 45 minutes with that person. So, and that's how I sold, like I said, Rooster Teeth Cockadoodle Doo and Food Freight. I went to that conference, the Rutgers One-on-One, and I did sell there. It was strictly by accident, though, because you're not supposed to sell anything there. You bring your stuff with you, they look at it, and sometimes they take it home with you, but you're not specifically allowed to give it to them. They have to ask you, and you can't, like, stalk them while they're going to the bathroom and stuff. And, there are people that do that. It's quite freaky. So you're not supposed to do any of that. You're not supposed to, like, hand out your manuscripts. There's rules, You have to send a writing sample in. When I had applied, I think it was like 300 people had tried out, and they only took 60. And like I said, it's not first come, first serve. It's based on writing ability. So if you get in, you know that you're really good. If you get to this point, and I hope that you will do, negotiating a book contract is the book to get. Because you sort of want to know what you're talking about before you even call Mary Flower. This is a great book, and it's small, so it's not like you have to sit there and read it for hours and hours. And another book to get, and I think I have it written down here what books to get, is if you really, really want to get an agent. I don't have an agent. And I've sold 7 books, and I have a new one coming out in 2008. If you really want, this is a guide to literary agents, but don't forget, they're taking a percentage. They can take up to 15% of whatever you sell, and that's a lot, especially with your first book. If you're only getting $500 and they take 15%, that's a lot of money. So this is a guide to literary agents, but, if you really do want this book, you really do want an agent, then, I also have cards to give out. If you go home and you think of a question, you can go to my website on the back, and you can just email me. Just please tell me that you were at this class today, so I know it's not somebody I should delete. I get a lot of really strange emails, like all the way from Germany, all the way to, it's crazy. And they all, of course, they want stuff, but I don't want to get a virus. So, I really need to know, put in the, the subject line, that you were here at the Somerville Library, and, then I'll answer it. If I don't see that, then I'm probably just going to press delete. So, what they do in picture books, actually, is you're a new author. Nobody here has published anything yet, right? Is that correct? Okay. So because you're new, they need to recoup their money that they're giving you. So they're going to match you up with a renowned illustrator or someone who will actually make the money. Like, let's say for Eric Carle. He's a really famous children's book illustrator, okay? They're going to match you up with somebody like that because they know that they can sell an Eric Carle book based on just his name. So you'll be matched up with somebody like that. The illustrators are people that they've worked with in the past that they'd like to put out again, and also vice versa. A new illustrator is going to be matched up with a renowned author because again they need to recoup the money that they're putting out there. It's all about money and bottom line. Unfortunately, it's not like it was when it used to just be based on a good book. It's all about who's going to sell the most books and stuff like that. Well, what they do is, like John Lithgow, is that his name? Jonathan Lithgow, okay. He just one day probably said, I want to write a children's book. He calls his agent, and the agent calls a publishing company, and they're like, hey, Jonathan Lithgow wants to write a children's book. And they're like, yeah. Let's do it. He's in. That's it. That's it. There's no rejection with Madonna or Jonathan Lithgow. There's no rejection with, God, they all write now. Jerry Seinfeld, Ray Romano, they're all writing children's books now. And honestly, I won't read any one of them because to me, they're not. First of all, they don't have the amount of rejection letters that I have. So they're not worthy. I always say, you're not worthy, you're not worthy. And, they're only going based on, people are saying, oh, Jonathan Lithgow wrote a book. Oh, look, Madonna wrote a book. And they buy it for their children. But I don't know, they're probably not that good. And are they going to win awards? I hope not. And I know Madonna was on TV one day and she said, she was going to be the next J.K. Rowling. Yeah, well, you know how she has a really big head. She always thinks that way. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope it doesn't happen, because then that sort of takes away from, I've been writing since I was 8. And I really, really, really put forth the effort. Madonna's just writing. Someone else is editing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, who knows? They're not going to say Madonna didn't write the book.
Right.
You know.
She probably just slapped a little story and somebody else writes it.
Yeah, she's probably like, oh, I have an idea now for, oh, yes, the Children and Roses. Yes, that's it. Something about that. Just write something down about that, and I'll approve it for you. You know, on the fax machine, or whatever she does. You know, she's not. I highly doubt she's actually writing it. You know, they all have editors. We're all going to have editors, and these editors really make your books better. So of course she's going to have somebody like it. They're not just going to put out Madonna's book and hopefully it's going to sell. You know, their names are on there too.